I planted my flag on like how to flip land part-time without ever visiting a property. And I meant it because that was our business model. But
the future is here, guys. And just like I think, if we look back over the last 18 months, 2 years, we were never talking about doing subdivide deals when we all started, right? Now it's
right.
evolved. It's going into new
Yeah.
places.
Hey, welcome everyone to the King Show. I've got with me here today Alicia Jarrett of Supercharged Offers.
Hi,
She runs an
everyone.
incredible business, and I'm going to let her kind of talk about what Supercharged is, and then I'll share my experience kind of throughout as well, because we've known each other for a while, and she's gotten a lot of clients, a lot of
We
consistent
do.
success.
Yeah. We were only just saying before the call, I'm here with my business partner, Matt, and he's like, Travis, I haven't heard that name in a while. I said, yeah, we've known you for years now, and we only got to meet in person last year, which was exciting. So it's good to be here, Travis. Thanks for having me.
Well, and now you're stateside. Share with people where you were before, or why we hadn't met
Yes.
in person before this year.
Well, I'm sure people can guess by the accent where I was before, but some people often mistake me for being English or New Zealand. But I am an Aussie, so I was working from Australia, doing everything remotely. So here's what I'll say with that, Travis, and you'll laugh at this as well, right? Because with your education program, you probably still get this too. People are like, I couldn't possibly do real estate that I couldn't go and see. And I'm like, I did it from the other side of the world. So you know
Right.
what? It's cool. But I am stateside now. I've got my visa. I'm over here. This is going to be my new home. And I'm now in Sarasota, Florida, which you and I just spoke about is some of our favorite
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our favorite places. I want to say we were down there 3 or 4 times last year.
Yeah,
So any excuse to go to Florida, right? For us, no question. So yeah, you
it's
picked a
beautiful.
good spot if you're gonna, move to the States anyway. So
Yep.
that's great. So stateside now doesn't some things are gonna change, but as far as running the business, not so much because you've always ran a remote business, like you
Yeah,
said, right?
exactly. And, we always set out from the beginning, even before we started Supercharged Offers, right? So prior to that, for anyone listening, we started out nearly a decade ago fixing and flipping houses from the other side of the world. Then we got into vacant land. Then we started Supercharged Offers. So the whole vision with anything we do in business, Travis, is as long as we've got a laptop and a phone, we should be able to do business from anywhere. I'm sitting here in Sarasota at the moment at a friend's place, and I've got my laptop and my phone, and I can work. So that's the goal, right? I think anyone getting into business often really wants those 3 freedoms. They want time freedom, financial freedom, and location freedom.
Yeah.
And the fact that I can just grab my laptop and phone and go and work from a cafe around the corner, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the dream.
Well, it's going to be so much easier for you now, though, with the time difference. That's the only thing you're combating before. You have that location freedom, but at the same time, you're still battling the time zones, right? And the
Yes,
time
I mean
difference.
the blessing is here. I don't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning like I used to maximize US hours. So I can work longer here. It's interesting,
Yeah.
Travis, because the luxury I had before working in a different time zone, and we've got customers in 9 countries that we do
Yeah.
stuff with for Supercharged, and we all say the same thing, that we end up in these real productivity zones that from 5 a.m. in the morning till 1 p.m. when it became nighttime in the US. I was like powering through. But then after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it was like no meetings and I could actually work on other
Yeah.
stuff. So over here, I've got to be a bit more protective of my time here, Travis, because I find that I can easily be on meetings from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. without a break.
Yes. You don't have any good excuse. You don't have a solid excuse now. Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Of that. Now you're the same time zone as most, or within a couple hours of most of your
Yep.
customers, I
Yep.
imagine. So,
My excuse is going to have to be soon that, because it's really the weather here at the moment. I can't believe this is the end of winter and it is beautiful. My excuse is going to have to be like, I'm sorry, I've got to head to the beach for an hour. Do you mind? I'm
yeah.
just going to take
Yeah,
off and come
yeah, you don't, because nobody wants to prevent somebody else from going to the beach, right? I mean, like,
quickly.
what kind of
That would
client
just
would
be
do
cool.
that, right? Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So you got your stateside now. Before you guys started Supercharged, you, like you said, you were investors yourself. You were
Yep.
houses and then moved to land. And so I'm going to make an assumption here, but a lot of us investors, right, kind of identify, well, yeah, I'm in this asset class of houses or land, but eventually come to the realization, like, I'm kind of a marketer, right? Like I
Yeah,
kind of own a marketing company. Is that the epiphany along the way or what?
I think it is. You're so right. Or I like to kind of take it even one step further and say I always say to people, we're not actually in the business of real estate. We're in the business of relationships. because it's who you
Yeah.
can strike up a conversation with, build that trust and rapport with, and make the deal happen, because now you've got that know, like, and trust factor. So I often take it that one step further and say, yeah, we're all marketers at the end of the day, but if you're good at relationships, you'll be okay in real
Yeah.
estate.
Well, and I really feel like that's where, as we move from at first kind of smokes on focusing on really small deals to
Hmm.
bigger deals, that became much more important, where it became more of like a relational than a transactional, where it's like, hey, I'm selling to you or I want to sell to you, right?
Hmm.
And the rapport has been built. Whereas obviously when we're targeting these really low end, inexpensive lots, it's kind of like a take it or
That's all
leave it. You
marketing.
know what I mean? Move on to the next one. I can't put too many man hours into this type of
Yeah,
thing. But I agree with that. That I think that people that lean into that side of it do really
definitely.
well.
And if we think even back, like when we first started doing vacant land, Travis, even when we were fixing and flipping houses, back a decade ago, there was a lot of educators out there that would say, you can do a deal without even having to talk to anyone. You can just
Yeah,
send them some mailers and they'll come back to you and you do the
yeah,
offer. That's really changed now. I'm really seeing that
yeah,
the industry has come a long way. Like you and I often talk about subdivides and things and doing bigger deals, but gone are the days that you can just send a mailer and expect a miracle to happen. So, these days it
right,
does require a bit more effort on the personalization side of things and really building that trust and rapport. So I'm excited by that though,
yeah,
because I think that that also means that it's putting some ethics back into what we do. You know,
yeah,
no longer can you kind of just hide behind a piece of mail or hide behind a VA. It's like, no, you've actually got to get out there and talk to people. One of my good friends
yeah.
here, that he's got a TTP for his thing, which is TTP, talk to people, right?
Yeah, that's just it. Especially like I would say, like if you have people that kind of have the home field advantage of like, let's say they're investing in their local market or their home state or somewhere that they know,
Yep,
right?
which a
There's
lot of
just so much more opportunity there with that versus, sometimes when you're too remote or too far away, you can't really relate. You can connect and build rapport on other levels, but at the same time, it's like anybody that's like really intimately knows their markets, you know what I mean,
yeah,
has an edge and then is kind of willing to get to know the seller, get to know
yeah,
the seller situation and not try to close on that first call. You're going to do
totally.
better. And ultimately, it usually amounts to like much fewer deals per year, but much bigger deals,
Quality
right?
versus quantity, right? And we
Yeah.
just I was talking with a customer, Robert, yesterday. He's working on some bigger deals that we're helping him out with, and he's in Texas, but he drove 3.5 hours to go and meet a property owner on large acreage. And he's like, that was the first time that I'd ever gone and driven
Yeah.
the car to go and meet a property
Yeah.
owner. But he said, the being able to put eyes on the property, but be able to eyeball the seller and have more of a negotiation conversation
Yeah.
man to man. He said that got the deal over the line. So, not that I'm saying to
Right.
everyone that you have to do deals that are close to home, but it does provide an advantage these days. And I think, Travis, if we think of that back to marketing, like when we're building out websites and materials and call scripts and mailers, etc., there is a little advantage when we're able to put on there that I'm a local buying local. It
Yeah.
does make a slight difference to the results, I think.
No, I think it really does. Like I really see that where people's your return address, if it's in the same state as the property, even if it's a virtual mailbox and the recipient doesn't know, right? Just being the
Mm,
same, giving that local appearance or whatever is probably going to get you a call back or
yeah,
kind of get a higher response rate. But
definitely.
I kind of planted my flag on it. You got to keep in mind though, I was investing 80% of our deals were in Arizona. And as great as the weather is, it's not as scenic as some other parts of the country. So I planted my flag on like how to flip land part time without ever visiting a property. And I meant it because that was our business model. But honestly, when we moved to starting to like do waterfront, like flips, like down in Florida, like
Yeah,
waterfront flips, I'm like, I kind of want to go to it now. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There was now a reason, like, I wouldn't mind going and looking at this one. I'm seeing the videos that the guys clearing the lot or the drone guys doing. And I actually, maybe I got to, change course on
gotta
that,
go
right?
check it
It
out.
has a
Yeah.
lot to do with the beauty of the parcel, right? Of the property. And
Hmm.
these desert ones, they all look the same. So you probably don't need to drive out to those. But I can tell
Yep.
you there's a lot of areas that are worth driving to.
Definitely, definitely.
So you touched on like direct mail, and that's a channel, right? Why don't you kind
Yep.
of share with everybody like just the higher level, and then we can kind of dig into each offering, but what you guys do, what Supercharged Offers does as far as marketing, because it's not just direct mail. You guys have other
No, we do a
channels of
whole bunch
marketing,
of
which
stuff.
are necessary, and really in this market, they just hit a different demographic and really a
Yeah.
different segment of your list, right?
Yep, 100%, Travis. So essentially, for those that don't know about Supercharged Offers, we are a done-for-you data and marketing company. And the reason why we started, Travis, you probably remember me talking to you about this years ago, but when we were doing deals ourselves, we had 6 different companies that we had to go to. One for our data, one for our mailers, one for our website,
Yeah.
another one to do follow-up calling. The list goes on. And so I was finding that about 20% of my time was just taken up in like managing these vendors and making sure that our marketing was always going out. And often it didn't go out because one vendor was running late or something happened over here or I got busy. So we started Supercharged Offers purely for ourselves, selfishly, but here we are now. We're now into our 6th year, which is great. But we started it because we wanted to get more systematized and efficient in how we were going out
Yeah.
and doing our acquisitions marketing. Lo and behold, once we started it and wasn't even named at that point, some of our people in our network are like, this stuff you're doing, can you do that for us? And,
Yeah, that's how
that's our
you solve
business.
your own pain point, and guess what?
Yep.
Other people have that same problem.
Exactly. So the way that I like to talk about it with all of our customers and real estate investors out there is really this. Where you make your money is when you're focused on leads and lead conversion and making the deal happen. You're not
Yeah.
making money when you're pulling data, scrubbing data, doing a mail merge, getting stuff printed,
Yeah.
trying to organize and manage VAs who are doing cold calling for you, trying to build a
Yeah.
website and getting ads out. Like that stuff's all essential, but it's not where you're going to make your money. It is important
Yeah.
because it's part of your business. But as real estate investors, guys, for anyone listening, you really should only be wearing like 1 or 2 hats. Deal
Yeah.
maker, revenue maker, right? Those are really the
Right.
2 things, or profit maker. All this other stuff. So to wear a hat of a data person, a marketing person, a content writer, a designer, a
Yeah.
printer, it takes a lot. So really what we're about is saying that we're going to become part of our customers' teams, and we do. They get to know us pretty well and we get to know our customers really well. Well, we're going to
Yeah.
take that off their shoulders and do it for them. Make sure they're consistent, make sure it happens, monitor it for them. All we really want our customers to do is when leads come through from any of the channels that we do, we want them to focus on their skill set with converting those leads into deals, doing their offers, making follow-ups, all of that stuff, right? And there's a number of different strategies that we can implement there because we don't just work with vacant land, we work with single family, commercial, self-storage, realtors, all of it.
Yeah, that's great. That's good for people listening to know it's not just land. Although the bulk of people are probably land
Bulk is
investors,
land.
also have a lot of agents, right, and then house
Yeah,
flippers as well. So
yeah,
that's really good to know that you do it for other assets too. But you're right. It's what it is. The people that like lean into it are the ones that naturally enjoy that, right? You've got like a small percentage of group that go like, I love this part. Like they'd rather be in the data than talking to seller. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So there's some people that go, they find an excuse to like bury themselves in the spreadsheet rather than have to be an extrovert or something and talk to actual people. But that's a
yeah,
small group. I would say that most of the people, you go, somebody else could do this better than me, right? Because when you wear those 6 hats, you kind of end up like just slightly above average at each one, but not great
yeah.
at any one
What
thing.
do they
And
say?
like
It's
you
like
said,
you can be a jack of all trades or a master of none.
right. And that's kind of like you, and there's toggling. I think there's inefficiency in toggling from one
Yes.
thing to the next, right? So I would agree. And what a lot of people don't spend the time on is you're going to have your fixed cost. Like if you mail yourself, like you have to pay postage, right? There's a production cost, there's a postage cost. Like nobody's doing it themselves for zero.
Yep.
So whenever you use a vendor, like obviously it's that difference between what you were paying plus your man hours that you aren't counting. And that's the thing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you add up your man hours and you build that in, that
Correct.
cost difference between using a professional vendor and doing it yourself, you're really not saving that much. The truth is you're just working for free, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And what I would say to that is, if you could give yourself 5 hours back a week, even if it was just an hour a
Yeah.
day, right? If you could give yourself 5 hours back a week and you dedicated that time to focusing on your leads, your follow up, building your buyers list, doing the stuff that's moving the needle, what difference would that make to your business? And
Yeah.
I would put money on the fact that for everybody, if they had 5 hours and they focused on that revenue generating stuff, they'd start to see some results.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And I'll share too. We have a client of yours, and it was a coaching client of mine, Colin Murphy, right?
Yep.
He understands the value of your service and been a long time customer. And as I was coaching him, I was focusing on adding like portfolios to his business model where he was really focusing on trying to scoop up 5 or 10 lots from one person. And then at the same time, he was working with you guys on that built-in like consistency. And
Yeah.
that's what I saw really about you guys was it's like forced, right? It's forced consistency with marketing where a lot of people it's best effort on their own. And
Yeah.
the way you guys planned out your campaigns was like, okay, like on day one, we do this, we drop
This is
this many on
happening.
day 30, day 45. And it's like you knew exactly when every campaign and how many were going to go out for the next 3 to 6 months.
Yep.
Right. And I
And
saw when we go ahead.
yeah, sorry. No, you go ahead. I was I
No,
was
I was
getting
just
too
gonna say it's
excited.
that consistent a lot of people are not consistent with marketing,
Yeah,
and they just chalk it up to like, "Hey, well, yeah, maybe it's just really competitive out there now," or but the reality is, like, if you just consistently market, over and over
you
and
get
don't make
deals.
excuses for yourself, you're gonna have a more consistent pipeline of leads coming
Correct.
in, more predictable,
Correct.
and, yeah, and I can attest to that, but I would say, yeah, Colin, I'll actually have him on. I don't know if his podcast will air or yours first, so who knows, listeners? You're gonna have to find them both out there. But yeah, Colin's
But
actually coming on and gonna be an interview as well. He's a good example of somebody living outside of the US again,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
flipping,
because he moved
running a
back to
company.
Spain. Yeah, absolutely. And we've got quite a few customers that are some of your students, Travis. And what I
Yeah,
love about that is, no matter where they're getting their education from and their strategy,
yeah,
we will implement what that strategy is. So to take
yeah,
Colin as an example, or some of your other students, they'll come to us and say, right, I want to do portfolio, I want to do
yeah,
trophy hunting, and I want to do larger properties that I can subdivide.
yeah,
And then I build into that, so we take their strategy and we'll implement across
yeah,
that, but I then take it one step further and I call it market message match. So if we're doing cold calling, it'll be a particular data list. So let's just say it's portfolio owners. So the market, the message in the script is about that data. And the
yeah,
matching is making sure that we're talking to the right value proposition or problems that those people have. Same with the direct mailers. If it's a portfolio mailer versus a trophy property
right.
versus a larger property that could be a subdivide, there's different messages that match up with the data so that the prospect
Yeah.
is getting the right message. I think gone are the days that we can just spray and pray out a whole bunch of different things and expect, the same
Well,
results.
and it's just expensive is the reality of it, right? We can
Yeah.
still do that. We have to spray wider and pray harder
Yeah.
or longer, but so it'll still kind of work, but it's like it's a very expensive approach, right? Where
It
I think
is.
you're right on like personalizing the message because these owners that own portfolios of properties or these folks that own waterfront lots, $250,000 plus waterfront lots that have been sitting that they don't if they can hold that asset and pay that property tax and it's
Yeah.
not hurting them. That's a different avatar than it is the somebody who owns the $20,000 lot that the agent wouldn't
Correct.
list. So yeah, you're
Correct.
right. That message kind of needs to be catered towards
Yeah.
them.
And
But what
that's
you
what
guys
we'll
do
do.
is you guys do that and you'll plan out campaigns, right? So you guys cold call
We
and
do.
direct
We
mail.
cold
Is that
call,
right?
we appointment set, we send out mailers, we do digital marketing, and we will combine that strategy for whatever the customer wants. So, to give you an example, we've got some customers at the moment that we're cold calling on the front end. But what we're doing with that, Travis, is we're doing like a test of, say, 5 or 6 counties, maybe 1,000 each. And we're then looking at the leads that come back in, correlating that with the lead quality and where they're getting those deals. And while they're comping properties and calling people back, they're noticing the good markets versus the not. Then we get it down to a really niche kind of market. So we say out of those 6, there were some cities and some areas that performed really, really well. Now let's
Yeah.
double down with direct mail for the people that didn't pick up the phone in those areas. And we can say on the mail piece, hey, we have been trying to call you because we are now doing deals in your area. We'd love to talk to you about your property for these reasons. So we can do it that way. If you think of it like a funnel, cold calling at the
Yeah.
top, then getting down to markets, then direct mail. And even then, the direct mail might be 3 or 4 different pieces going out. Conversely, we've also
Yeah.
got customers that we're mailing on the front end. And then we're using our cold calling team to follow up the mailers, even if it's an offer, and saying, hey, we know that you probably got 5 letters last week, right? Let's face it, if you've got a good property, you're probably getting other offers, but we sent you one. It looks like this. It's got an offer on
Yeah.
it. Did you see it? Are you open to negotiating? If so, let's book you in an appointment with our lead manager. And we've got
And that's a
customers
great
telling me,
that's a great point there, okay? Because not all vendors will do that. So you guys are making that outbound call right?
Yep.
As cold callers, the done for you cold calling service. You'll also schedule kind of you'll either schedule a callback time, or here's where it gets better, guys. Guys and gals, is you guys will actually do a warm handoff, right? Like
Yes,
you'll
we will.
transfer if somebody's available, right?
Yep. We will
You can
do
actually
any of the
transfer
above.
the
We can
lead.
book an appointment. We can just wrap up the call and send you the lead and the recording and everything, or we can do a warm transfer. Now, here's the thing with warm transfers, guys. It is not for everyone. But if you're a confident
Yeah.
person on the phone and you're good at building rapport, why would you not want to speak to that prospect as soon as possible? So we call it speed to lead, Travis, because
Yeah.
everyone knows what it's like to be ghosted. If you're SMSing and all of a sudden you're trying to get hold of that person and they're just ghosting you, it's not great. So when we're doing that warm transfer, that gives the prospect the ability to automatically build that trust and rapport with you, for you to set the scene and the expectation about, hey, here's what's going to happen next. Now, you don't need to make an offer on that first call. A lot of people are like, oh, but
Yeah.
I haven't run my comps. I don't know the numbers. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. All that first call is about, and our team will basically call you, Travis, and say, hey, Travis, I've got Mary on the line. She's got a property in Sarasota County. It's 2 acres. She meets your criteria and she is looking to sell. I'm going to patch her through. They'll go, Mary, I've got
Yeah.
Travis on the line. Over to you, Travis. They'll connect you.
Yeah.
Now, that first phone call, all that you need to do from there, and you know where I'm going to go with this, right? Hey, Mary, it's so good to talk to you today. Hey, look, I'm not at my computer at the moment, but I'd love to just spend a few minutes. Just tell me a little bit more about the property. Did you inherit it? Did you buy it? Just get them talking. Find out as much as you can. We will qualify it based upon the custom, because everything we do in our cold calling is custom. So if you want to know about road access, utilities, all those things,
Yeah.
we'll qualify that beforehand. But it's just about having that initial conversation and saying, look, Mary, it's been amazing talking to you today. I've got all this info. What's going to happen now? I'm going to go run some numbers, Mary. How about I give you a call back at this time tomorrow? Does that work for you? Great. I'll be
Yeah.
calling you back from this number. So if you see that number come up on your phone, that's me, and I'll probably have an offer for you tomorrow. How does that sound? So that first phone call, you don't have to know everything about the property or the
Right.
prospect.
And that's where you're listening for tonality, you're listening for seller motivation, you're kind of
Yep.
qualifying the seller, not the
Yep.
property.
Yep.
Right.
And you're
And
and you're
so
building up that momentum for what's going to happen next. So you're managing the expectation.
and that's just a different vibe or first impression for the seller
Yep.
than it is the person that calls in and hits your call tree and sends you straight to voicemail, right? Because you're at work and you can't take it. Now that's not
Yeah.
saying you have to take the warm lead to call live if you're not
No.
available, right?
If
But
you're
it's
not
there. It's an
available,
option, right? It's
correct.
an option, which is
Yep.
great.
If you're not
Um,
available, we'll simply send you the lead and the recording. And what we suggest to everyone is listen to the recording so you can hear that tonality. If they talk about family members, they might talk about, I've got this with my 3 brothers and sisters, but we don't talk anymore. We need to do a probate.
yeah.
All those little things that you'll hear in that first initial conversation, that will just allow you, when you do call them back, to pick up where they left off. And as
So
long as you're
that's
bringing that,
outbound. Okay, that's outbound cold calling. Let's say the person sees the missed call and they call back. Are you guys answering inbound
we are.
calls back?
Yeah, we are. So, and because we call the list nonstop, Travis, so let's just say that we're dialing 4,000 a month for a part-time dialer. We will,
Yeah.
over that month, we'll actually get somewhere between 24 to 30,000 calls happening, which is huge. We do not stop. We don't have any limit to how many calls we'll
Meaning,
make.
just clarifying, like for listeners, meaning like a marketing list of 4,000 owners, and you're making 4 or 5 plus attempts on each one. Is that right?
We will do, we have no limit to how many
It's
attempts we
just
will do.
more nonstop based on part-time or
Correct.
full-time cold
Based
calling.
on time rather than
Yeah.
dials, because there's a lot of other companies out there that will say, we'll dial your list twice or 3 times, but if no one picks up, there's your money gone. So we're going to
Yeah.
dial nonstop. And so if someone's missed a call 4 or 5 times from the same number, sometimes they do call it back, and our system can actually,
Yeah.
so they'll recognize the number and we'll say, oh, Mary, thank you so much for calling us back. I'm really glad that you did. We'd love to talk to you about your property. They'll triage that lead and still get the lead over to you. Conversely as
Yeah.
well, Travis, our team, if this is pretty common too, they'll call the prospect, and the prospect will say, look, now's not a good time. Call me back tomorrow. We will confirm what time works for you tomorrow, and we'll call them back.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we might even call them 3 or 4 times before we get all the information to hand the lead over to you.
So does somebody need a call center if they're working with you guys? Like, do they need to be using Pat Live still, or is that kind of a role you guys feel
If
as
they
well.
wanted to use Pat Live to, have just a central kind of receptionist, if you like. But for me,
Yeah.
Pat Live is more applicable if you're sending out direct mail and you want someone
Or
to
the yeah.
call in and, register their interest, right?
So you guys aren't doing
Warm
that yet. You're not, you guys aren't, that's not a service yet, huh? Or
yet. We got some other
yeah.
stuff I want to talk about too, Travis. There's lots of things
Yeah.
that we're doing at the moment,
Yeah,
but
let
but
so,
I think
some other thing, you guys will do branding, you guys will build websites, you guys really do a lot of that
everything.
stuff beyond just like a mail house and cold
Yep.
calling. So it
Yep.
really is
All
like
of
a
that stuff.
one-stop shop and a done for you service for somebody looking, somebody I would say like probably the appropriate customer avatar for you guys is somebody who's serious about their land business, somebody who's committed and wants to have consistent marketing, not just like taking a stab at it for 1 month. Would you agree with that?
No, we've actually come a long way since that. So yes, that first avatar you mentioned is the majority of our customers, but we've now got a whole bunch of products that allow people to kind of try it on for size. See if this business is what you want to do. We've got everything from like smaller package digital marketing, direct mail, cold calling that just goes for 3 months because 3 months
Yeah.
goes like that these days. And it
Yeah.
allows you to test some markets, test if this is for you for a really low price point. But
Yeah.
equally, if you just wanted to do our part-time cold calling, we've got that down to a really good price point that,
Now that's
and the
that's great because I used to just route kind of the heavy hitters, right? And people were doing lots of marketing to you, but it sounds like you guys have added
we
like
can
that
we can handle the
instead of
newbies.
yeah, you can handle the part-time cold caller. That's the
Yep,
challenge before is if somebody had to be marketing enough to justify a full-time cold caller or justify 60,000 mailers all at once, but it sounds like maybe you
yeah,
guys have
not
now
anymore.
you kind of now have pricing tiers to
We
right size
do.
that
Yep.
for beginners and
Anything from
intermediate.
You got it,
That's
Travis.
great.
Anything from someone just starting out who wants to try this on for size, all the way up to people that want an outsourced marketing service where we become like their fractional marketing team and everything in between. And our main value proposition, and for most of our customers, we say we want to grow with you. So if you start on a smaller package, let's help you get some leads and some deals. And by the time you're starting to get your ROI, well, let's turn up the volume a little. Let's keep
Yeah.
growing with you as you add more strategies, more things. We can do all of that with you and for you.
Well, and that's what you're saying before about the hat you should have on. And I feel like I've come to arrive at, I believe, yeah, just that growth hat. And like you said, like that deal maker hat, like are the two
Yeah.
hats, that you
Yeah.
should have on as the operator. And then, so
Definitely.
the service you guys are offering is, it really allows somebody to operate without having a small team themselves and having
Yeah.
that oversight of more people or having to wear those hats and do everything yourself.
Yeah.
But you
We've
also
got a
got some
lot of,
more projects in the work.
we
Why don't you kind
do.
of share? I know there's some other things you want to talk about, so I don't want to like run out of time before we get to those. So
I
why don't you go
know
ahead
it's
and
so
share that?
exciting. I'm so excited about this. But so for I don't know when this is going to be aired, but we are also so Supercharged Offers, as I said, been going 6 years. We really we want to be at the forefront of change in the industry. And I think part of us offering some of our services and how we do things has been like that over the years. But we're about to kind of 10x this, to use Grant Cardone as a local Arizonian, right? So we are about to launch what's called Property 365 with some fantastic business partners who have been friends for a few years. Essentially, at the moment, if you do real estate, you've got to have a marketing team. You've got to have someone that can fund your deals. You've got to be able to look at on market versus off market. You need appraisers. You need a whole range of different things. And if you're a realtor, that often adds up to a lot of different services that you need every year, especially if you're doing like single family or you're a fix and flipper as well. We're putting all of that onto one platform. The platform currently exists. We've brought that into the fold, but now we're going to be adding in tokenization and blockchain. So people can actually start to look at Web3 lenders. Now, this is a whole nother topic, Travis, that we might need to do a whole new podcast on. But
Yeah.
essentially, we're going to be doing the entire platform. I don't know if I can share my screen here because I've actually got a little visual. Can I share my screen and talk you through it?
You know what? You know what I think we should do is I'll probably have you what we'll do by the time somebody listens to this, let's record like a webinar or a master class where you can kind
Yeah,
of do that, where you can share your screen and people can kind of take a look under the hood.
let's
And then we'll
do
just
it.
link on the episode webpage here. We'll link to that master class or that recording. Let's do that so we don't rush
Let's
through it
do
and skip
that.
over things.
Yeah,
Plus, I
there's
imagine there's
so
going to
many
be some
exciting
more
things.
bells and whistles on it by the time we do that and this airs.
There will be.
So
Yep. So we're
yeah,
working with a whole bunch of different providers on that. On the platform itself, we've got lending partners that are national. We've got title companies that are national. We've got escrow. We've got banks and institutions. We'll be bringing REO properties onto it. Blockchain, tokenization. Different lending under tokenization. So if we think of it, and I'll just give people a little snapshot here to get their brains going. Vacant land
yeah,
subdivisions. Imagine if you get 100 acres, you put it on the blockchain and tokenize it. Now you can get investors from all around the world that can put into that property and have fractional ownership. And now you can leverage against that fractional ownership and that tokenization with lending. Now, at the moment, you can't lend on vacant land unless you've got a big development project or you've got the right private money lender. This opens up what's called DeFi lenders, which is the new evolution of lending. And if anyone's following Elon Musk and Trump on their blockchain and their czar of crypto, this is the future, Travis. So, there's going to
yeah.
be some really exciting times ahead. And we're working with some fantastic partners on the forefront of that.
So this is is this a marketplace, but also a
It's a,
directory as well?
yeah,
Am
that's a
I
great way to
picturing
put
that
it.
right?
Marketplace and directory with a whole bunch of vertical services attached to every transaction that you do. And it'll be all in
It
one.
is. So is there some element of like interactive map or mapping or where we see the properties for
All of
sale
that.
or?
So if you can imagine a combination of like a Zillow, MLS,
Yeah.
lending platforms, insurance platforms, online title platforms, all in one, that's what it is.
Well, I don't want to imagine, Alicia. I want beta access. Right? I want
We're
beta
looking for
access to
that at
take
the
this for a
moment.
spin and give you my feedback. And then,
Yeah,
yeah,
we'd love you to be a part of it, Travis. We're actually doing a seed round cap raise at the moment and getting some initial people in that we want to do that as well, like be a part of it, which is
yeah,
amazing. So, yeah, lots of exciting things happening there. But the future is here, guys. And just like I think, if we look back over the last 18 months, 2 years, we were never talking
yeah,
about doing subdivide deals when we all started, right? Now it's
right,
evolved, it's going into new
yeah.
places. It's the same with the stuff that we're about to launch into. It's just an evolution of how real estate is done. And we want to really not only disrupt the industry, but provide a way for people to do business easier.
Well, and that's such a good point because so I started teaching it in 2021, and honestly, at the time, I couldn't find anybody that had a course or anything about when I was
Yeah.
sharing subdividing, and it was something we just stumbled into on our own. And now it's like, yep, that's what we do, right?
Yep.
Everybody's teaching it. There's a bunch of people doing it, and there's also, I think, as a bunch of investors have kind of like just that natural growth and evolution. They've kind of built up their war chest. They now have the money to where they can take down these bigger deals and
Yeah.
do these projects that they couldn't in the beginning. Well, had to flip the little stuff at first to build up to do that. But you're right;
Exactly.
it kind of becomes
Exactly.
the norm. And I think you're kind of right with where things are headed. The stuff you're
Yep.
talking about today, 2 years from now, right? That's going to be the norm. The same
Yep.
as subdividing all of a sudden it is now an entry point, whereas before it was really something you grew into, right?
Exactly. And if anybody does any research on, Jeff Bezos, he's already tokenizing properties through Amazon. He doesn't have all the other services. Grant Cardone is tokenizing a lot of his properties through the Cardone Property Foundation and what have you. And, it's happening. When people
Yeah.
like that start doing it, it's coming.
Well, that's a heavy lift though. So hats off to you. That's impressive that's an ambitious project definitely to
It's
take
a
on.
big project, but we're super excited about it. And yeah, there's going to be lots of really exciting announcements to come. And just for even our customers, that means that they're going to have access to so much more stuff too. So we're really excited.
Oh, congrats. That's great. Hey, is there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about before we kind of wrap
Oh,
it up?
don't think so. I just, for anyone out there that is doing vacant land or any other asset class for that fact as well. Last year was really tough for a lot of people, but we're at a macro level, we're seeing a lot of sellers are converting a lot more now that the new administration is in, regardless of who you
Yeah.
vote for, guys. There's just a bit more certainty out there in the market.
Yeah.
I think as well over the last 12 months, being that 2024 was so tough, that took out a lot of people that would what I would call like hobbyists, people that weren't really
Yeah.
trying to do this as a
Yeah,
business.
there's kind of a purge or a cleansing.
There
Yeah.
is. Yeah, and I think now is a great opportunity to just go for it. buyers are buying, sellers are selling. We've seen an increase in transactions. Interest in
Yeah.
inflation's coming down. All the positives about a market shift are there. So don't take last year as anything normal, because it wasn't. But
Right.
I think anytime we're in an election year and there's interest in inflation, and then you throw a
Yeah.
few hurricanes on top of that, and a whole range of things, it doesn't bode for a good market. But I think it's really picking up now, Travis, and I'm excited with what the year's going to bring.
No, I feel it too. And you could even sense like the 6 months ish before the election, there's a lot of that, like you would talk to sellers and they're like, well, I'm kind of just going to wait and see.
I'm
You know
gonna
what I mean?
wait.
I don't know whether I have a liability or an asset here. Right. So there's just a lot of people that were honestly just kind of, just taking a wait and see approach, whether it was
Yeah.
the people property owners wanting to sell, or buyers like just being hesitant and going like, I don't know, is this economy going to get better or
Yep.
worse? But I don't want to part with the money I have for some vacant land, assuming and being optimistic. So I think you're right. Now that we have some more certainty, and we kind of have a feel for the direction we're headed, I think you're right. I think activity is going to pick up
Yeah,
a
definitely.
lot. So I'm
Definitely.
looking forward. I mean, I'm really looking forward to this year. I think that it's going to be a welcome change from the last 2 years of kind of slogging it out and grinding it out.
Yep, you got it, Travis. So I think you and I together, and I know that you have a very big heart when it comes to serving your community, as do I. So if anyone needs any help with anything, just reach out. I'd be more than happy to jump on a call and talk about their strategy, what they want to achieve, reverse engineer that into their marketing and budgets, and all of that as well, right? And the other thing, guys, we often hear this term in real estate called OPM, which is other people's money. We've actually got some really good funding partners that work with us that you can actually have your marketing funded. So, don't
Oh,
think
that's
that if you've
great.
got these big
Yeah.
goals for your business that you need to come up
Yeah.
with all this cash. You really don't. There's so many ways to really work this business. And I think if you're
Yeah.
open to what that might look like, we can certainly help structure the right thing for you.
Yeah, that's fantastic because that's what keeps so many people from starting, right? And the model's proven. Like if you're consistent, and I just tell people that if you commit to this for 12 months, for a year, and you're all in and you're consistent, right, with your marketing and your offers, it will work. It doesn't work if you dabble for a month or two and then tap out and move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
But that's great. But sometimes that is that issue, right? Is like, hey, getting that initial
cash
money
flow.
to get the
Yeah,
marketing going, get the business going. So no, that's awesome. You guys have that way. Hey, I'll link to you guys on the episode webpage, but also if anybody wants to go to mysuperchargedoffers.com. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll throw up a QR code or something for you to scan. You can check out Alicia's company and all the different products and services they offer. And this is a vendor we've been working with for years, everybody, and we can trust. And a lot of their testimonies you'll see are pretty established real estate professionals who
yeah.
have built them into their business. So definitely encourage you to check them out. All
Thanks,
right. Thanks,
Travis. I
Alicia.
appreciate
Appreciate you.
it. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into The King Show. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Also, don't forget to head over to travisking.com for show notes, resources, bonus content, and more ways to connect with me and the guests that you hear on the show. Remember, greatness is already within you. It's time for you to boss up and claim it. Stop building someone else's empire and start building your own.